Now, do you think the wall would change anything?
I love that question because I always tell people, like, I was an infantry officer one time, and military stuff, you want to funnel the targets, funnel the people into certain locations.
Yeah.
And that's where you deploy assets. And then I'm also from the East Coast. I always tell people, I'm like, look, the Southwest border is like driving from Maine to Miami on Route 95. That is how big the border is. You can't put a wall in the whole border, but you could put it in certain locations that are high traffic areas to funnel traffic in to where you could put agents and you could put technology.
Yeah.
And there's 16,000 agents on Southwest border working 24/7, 365.
Damn. Yeah.
3 to 4 shifts.
You're still not going to see everything. I mean, it's just insane. No. Yeah.
And just as well as I do, tech is great, but tech is not going to find someone that's been like camped under a bush and they're not showing a heat signature. And that means you got to have something that's going to be able to check heat signatures for 2,000 miles.
Right. And even for every piece of tech, there has to be a human response, which really now all of a sudden you're just draining. You're draining energy, you're draining resources, you're draining money.
Yep.
Yeah. On a lot of different fronts. What's the most dangerous situation that you've been in, got yourself out of, lessons learned?
Dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Well, there was
better
one
be good.
time.
Better be good, Jason.
That's not that good. I do remember there was when I first started out in a border patrol, I was just a dumbass kid. Listen, when you're in
we're all just dumbass kids. I'm fucking almost 50. Still a dumbass kid.
Believe me, I'm still dumb. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm much of a kid anymore. I feel like a kid. My body doesn't feel old. Was that TikTok thing, jiggle, fold crap now? No. So
whatever.
First got to the border patrol and I'm like, I'm from small town, New Jersey. Yeah, I've been in the Army, but this was Cold War Army. There's no battles here and stuff like that. And I remember dropping down into a canyon and I get down to the bottom and these are like San Diego mountains.
So are you dropping? What do you mean dropping?
Oh, I mean, so a sensor goes off. Yeah. So all along the border, there's sensors.
Really?
So,
is this secret?
No, it's all there.
Everybody knows that detect people.
Yes. So if you're you could set these sensors in the ground and it's basically seismic shift. So, I mean, if someone's walking like an animal is not going to set it off. So you can set it to be like 130 pounds, 140 pounds. It's not going to tell you how many people are hitting it. It's going to say, okay, it hits and then it ends. And this is like the technology back in the early 2000s. So I'm sure it's a lot better now. So if a sensor goes off, you have to go down into a canyon. So next to San Diego are these huge mountains called the Otay Mountains. And these canyons are deep and the trails are built for Oaxacans, which are like little 5 feet people. So
and donkeys.
Yep. And donkeys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you go down these canyons, there's no backup. If anybody else comes after you to help you, they're going to be an hour or two behind you. You can't get a helicopter in there because a helicopter has nowhere to land. You can call for a search and rescue helicopter and drop someone in there, but that's still going to be hours away. So when you go down and check these sensors out, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know if it's going to be a smuggler. You don't know if it's just going to be a family. You don't know what. And I remember a sensor going off and I'm by myself. It's at night. And I'm going down. I'm down. And I see this guy. And he's like 6'3". He's got a flannel on. And he looks like he has those prison muscles. No lower body. And I'm like, man, this fucking dude's going to take me out. And I'm like, I could draw down on him. I could do this. I could do that. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I'm fucking toast if this guy goes for it. I'm going to have to shoot him. How the hell am I going to explain that I had to shoot this guy? I'm like, cause I'm like 5'9", $180 then. I was decent shape. So I'm like, shit. And he goes, oh, you got me. And he turns around. He's ready to go because he's been arrested so many times. He knows that I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to process him. Nobody's going to prosecute him. And he's going to go right back to Mexico and try again the next day.
What's the purpose? What's his purpose? Like, let's say he doesn't get caught. What's he doing?
He's going to come over and a guy like that, one or two things. He's going to come here for economic prosperity or he's going to come here for illicit means. A lot of these people just want to come over. But then you have, so many of these people you hook up at the border, so many have some sort of criminal conviction for either it's like domestic abuse, child endangerment, rape, all sorts of other different arrests. And back then, we didn't have the 5-point. We weren't fingerprinting everybody. So it was like you're taking one fingerprint. It's just going to see if they have immigration hits. If you think they're suspected, you could, run all 5 of their fingerprints or all 10 of their fingerprints, and it would go through the FBI and everything. But then there was a serial killer rolling around in Texas for years who was killing people on railroads. And he was an illegal, and he kept getting arrested by the Border Patrol, but they weren't fingerprinting him all the way.
It wasn't connecting. Yeah.
Nope. And now that's why they 10 print everybody, they call it. So you never know what you're going to run into. I've run into a lot of different scenarios in my career. Fortunately, I haven't had to shoot someone, but I've been in so many where you're just like, man,
yeah,
this is some shit.
It's dicey, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What, your experience with the border, you hear these, what to me sounds just like fantastic allegations of MS-13 and drugs and all this shit coming across the board. Like, so what is the percentage of families that are just wanting to come to America and do what we've all done for the past, couple of 100 years now, right? Versus the percentage of like true bad people? Is it more of the families or singletons that just want to, have a better life, or is it truly a whole bunch of bad people?
There are a whole bunch of bad people. There are. Absolutely. But there's also a metric shit ton of good people.
So would you say there's more good than there is bad?
Yeah, there's absolutely more good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes media pushes the limits on how they leverage the bad people factor versus, or is it just good people,
No, and that's where, I was working for this human smuggling cell. And that's kind of where I wrote that first book.
Yeah.
Is when I found out not just the people who were evil coming across a border, but then what they were doing to these little kids coming across a border. Because there's probably, nowadays there's probably 150 to 200,000 little kids coming across a border by themselves.
Say that number again.
About 150 to 200,000 unaccompanied alien children, unaccompanied minor children.
150 to 200,000 kids, right?
Yep.
Damn.
Little kids. Well,
That's
not
crazy.
all of them are little, because
I know. I get
you and
your
I
point.
both. Yeah, because when you throw that political machine in there and they start going, well, they're MS-13. Yes, there's MS-13 in there, but a lot of them are tender age. So I got hooked up with this when I worked for ICE. I worked at this human smuggling cell, and our charter was to go after the smuggling organizations that were bringing these little kids across. And that's when I found out about all these little kids and about how many of them, once they get here and they get through the system, get released out into the wild to these sponsors, these people coming in and taking them, and finding out that these sponsors are let's say out of 50,000 sponsors, let's say 5,000 or 6,000 have some sort of criminal history.
Oh, geez.
I.e., they've been arrested for murder, rape, incest, anything, and you're like, holy shit, what is going on? We're
crazy.
essentially smuggling. And that's why it's like, to not get political about it, the border is just jacked up and it's not going to get fixed, because nowadays it's like, you got to get across a border. If you were in South America, Central America, you have got to get a foothold in the U.S. before they change the law. So if you get here,
and they know the laws better than we do, right?
Yeah, they do.
They keep up with that stuff.
51 people just died in Texas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because they're getting, it's horrible, man.
Back of a truck and just burned to death, basically, because of the heat.
There's evil on both sides of that border.
You're listening to Can You Survive This podcast? Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and share on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows.